It's Wednesday, July 18. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The government is considering convening the National Drought Committee to devise strategies to deal with the current dry spell being experienced in some parts of the island. Minister without portfolio in the Economic Growth and Job Creation Ministry, Darrell Vaz, addressed the matter in the House of Representatives Tuesday afternoon. He noted that February 2018 started the trend of below-average rainfall, which continued through to the secondary rainfall season that started in May. He said preliminary data for June suggests that the trend has been maintained for most of the country, and the forecast for the next few months is cause for concern, especially for Portland, St. Catherine, Clarendon, and St. Mary. As such, he said the government is contemplating reconvening the National Drought Committee.
Consideration is now being given to convening the National Drought Committee to give attention to the strategies that may be needed to be employed should the island be forced into a more widespread situation. So I bring this to the House today, Mr. Speaker, to be proactive, and so we can work collectively as Member of Parliament to work together with the relevant ministries and agencies so that we can have in place a mechanism to deal with the water, which is not if, it is when, because we all know already that without a drought, we have many issues and problems on a daily basis in terms of the issue of water in the communities.
Minister Vaz, who is also Member of Parliament for Portland Western, said a schedule has been devised for trucking water to Portland residents. He advised other parishes to make similar plans.
For Portland, we have developed a trucking schedule for the entire parish for the period July to September, and we are seeking funding through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation as well as the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. That is for parish, for Portland. And I'm suggesting, Mr. Speaker, to all my colleague MPs that they do the same and submit that so that it can be looked at through the parish council, so that it can be looked at between the Ministry of Local Government and, of course, the Ministry of Economic Growth, where water is so housed.
In the meantime, Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie last week said assessments are being done to determine where $35 million allocated for drought relief will be spent. The House of Representatives has voted in favor for another extension of the zones of special operations in Mount Salem, St. James, and Denhamtown, Kingston. The zone of special operations in Denhamtown will end on August 16 and September 4 in Mount Salem. The operations will be extended for another 60 days if the Senate gives the green light. In tabling the resolution Tuesday afternoon, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said crime prevention programs and strategies continue to bring order to both communities. Mr. Holness pointed out that there are overall reductions in homicides and particular firearm-related incidents in these communities. He also noted that road improvement and rehabilitation, the regularization of utilities, and drain cleaning are taking place in the communities.
We continue to make significant improvements in both communities, Mount Salem and Denhamtown, in road improvement and rehabilitation. I'm certain that both members of Parliament can attest to the improvements that are taking place in their communities as it relates to road improvements. Mr. Speaker, the regularization of utilities continues. Drain cleaning and the removal of solid waste, Mr. Speaker. This is continuing, and in fact, we have developed a system of environmental wardens. And I'm certain that if any of us found the time to visit either Denhamtown or Mount Salem, you would testify that these communities are much cleaner.
The Prime Minister further argued that the extension is needed for more work to be done under the build phase. The aim of the build phase is to ensure the effective implementation of community redevelopment, citizen security and public safety initiatives to transform vulnerable and volatile communities. Opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson reiterated the People's National Party's position that a zone of special operation is not needed for social interventions to be implemented in vulnerable communities.
You speak much about the social intervention, and fine, we cannot and we will not oppose those kinds of intervention and the successes which are achieved. But Mr. Prime Minister, back to school assistance, I do it in my constituency every year and there's no zozo. I deal with other social problems in the communities and there's no zozo. So to say that to achieve these things, the prerequisite for it is a zozo, is an argument that, we have a challenge with. We welcome the results. Don't get the impression that we have any issue with them. But don't give the impression that in order to get them, you need to have a zozo. That's our argument. Because we need to have those social intervention in South St. Andrew. Police Division and West Kingston. High levels of murders and shootings. Where is the Zozo in those areas? Where's the Zozo intervention in those non-Zozo areas?
The government will be spending approximately $5.2 million to provide additional tablets to equip teachers involved in science, technology, and engineering, as well as mathematics. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley made the announcement while addressing the opening ceremony of Excellence in STEM Experimental Education workshop at the Excelsior Community College in Kingston yesterday. He said the funds have been approved by the Board of Universal Service Fund. The STEM program is a high priority for the government and is in keeping with measures to promote problem-based and project-based approaches to learning. The Ministries of Justice and National Security now have joint portfolio responsibility for the handling of human trafficking.
Given that the Ministry of Justice is the current chair of the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, the plan is for the Ministry of Justice to provide support to the Ministry of National Security as needed, while continuing to carry out core functions as chair of that said task force.
Minister of Information, Senator Ruel Reid. Human trafficking is considered a transnational crime with the primary objective of gaining profit through the exploitation of people. The NATFA-TIP is a multi-agency body comprising representatives from ministries, departments and agencies and non-governmental organizations which support the government's policy and action in combating human trafficking in Jamaica. Minister Reid says the government has partnered with the United Nations to launch the Global Heart Campaign against human trafficking. In regional news, the International Monetary Fund IMF has warned Barbadians that more austerity is coming. At the end of a 10-day visit to the island, a team from the Washington-based lending agency said that while the Barbadian authorities, in close consultation with their social partners, were taking effective steps to address current economic vulnerabilities, the measures outlined in the budget by Prime Minister Mia Mottley last month were a good start. A second round of measures would be needed, though. The officials indicated that the IMF stood ready to partner with Barbados to restore macroeconomic stability in order to secure strong, durable and inclusive growth in the years ahead. During the July 2 to 12 visit, the IMF team held discussions with various stakeholders, including government officials, trade unions and the private sector. In sports, Special Olympics Jamaica went down 0-1 to their Nigerian counterparts on yesterday's opening day of the inaugural Toyota Unified Football Cup. Bamidele Oleyai got the winner for Nigeria in the 17th minute of the closely contested 60-minute encounter at the Fire Pitch's northern field. In the group's other game, Italy and Japan ended goalless at the venue's southern field. Jamaica's head coach Shane Richards said his team matched up well against the hard-running and slippery Nigerian outfit. Usain Bolt is making a run at professional soccer in Australia. The Olympic sprint great has long expressed his love for the game. Since his retirement from track, he has contested himself with Germany's Borussia Dortmund and the Norwegian club Strømsgodset. Now, at 31 years old, he will try out for 6 weeks with the Central Coast Mariners starting next month. If all goes well, he could play for a season at Australia's A-League. Australian agent Tony Rallis said Monday the Mariners and Bolt have a deal in principle, subject to a couple of benchmarks. And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.